Welcome to the Functional Health Coaching Show, where we are here to support and answer your questions so that you can help people on a deeper level get real results and grow your health coaching business. Do you have questions you want to ask live on the show? You can call in every Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1-347-637-1378. Are you looking to increase your credibility and grow your health coaching business using functional lab testing and data-driven protocols so that you can confidently solve health issues? Well, we have the course for you. Go to fdn.today/show to learn more and sign up today. Okay, let's join today's episode.
Well, happy Friday, guys. We say that every week. I love saying that. That was one of Reed's phrases with this call when he's on the call. It's always happy Friday, and I love that phrase. And we mean that. Hopefully, end of your week has been good. You've had a good week, or at least if things haven't gone so well, you've got some perspective. You've learned from some of those things, and life is good. So happy to join you guys today on the fantastic Friday call, or the Functional Health Coaching Show. I'm your, main host, Brandon Mole, FDN mentor and practitioner. And I've got a couple guests with me today. Brendan and I decided that we were given terrible answers, and we needed somebody that actually had the answers. So Tess is on with us today, too. So we've got all three of us on today, and we're going to try to answer your questions the best that we can. So I'll check with those guys in just a second. I'll Tess, you're awesome. Glad to be on with you. So it is April 10th, April 10th, 2020, and coming to you again live on the Friday call. We're going to do some questions today. So I had a good call last week, a lot of good vibes, good positivity, a lot of good questions too, and we're going to do that again today. If you want to call in and ask a question or just say hello, give her a little report, we'd love to hear from you guys. The number to do that is 347-637-1378. Again, 347-637-1378. And just hit one on the keypad. I'll be able to bring you on. If you're already listening, which a lot of you guys are there, I see you. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. Hit one on the keypad, and we'll bring you on when we get into the question portion of things. Happy to answer these. And also keep in mind, these are all recorded. And they go back many years, like over 10 years, believe it or not, of these Friday calls. And so if you want to go back, listen to the archives, you can. Connie Rubin has put together some highlights of these, like the show notes, kind of all together as a document if you guys want to check that out. It's a good resource. We answer lots of questions. Probably most things have been asked at least once, I would say. So keep in mind those are there. They're recorded. If you want to grab any of those, listen to those, put them on your phone or iPad or whatever you've got going on. If you're outside walking, you can listen to us talk about FDN if you'd like to. So always good to learn. Let's see. So keep that in mind. Questions today. And then just a few things announcement-wise. Check your email for those and Facebook, because lots of cool things going on. We've got some COVID testing if that's something that you want to do. There's several different options and ways to do that if that is of interest to you. You may not want to know. You may not care about that. Depends on what you want to do. Maybe your clients want to know. So there are options now for testing. So check out the Medical Director Program page for that. And the details are there for the different labs and different ways that you can test. And also, if you didn't catch it, Oxford MRT, so my favorite food sensitivity test, they're doing some special things for us as practitioners. So I won't get into the details here because it's practitioner only, but you guys check that out. That's trainees and practitioners both. Check out the announcements there. Reed did a great interview with Ethan DeMitchell there on Facebook Live. Check that out. Good things from those guys, so please check out the information there. I'll leave it at that. And then you guys know we've got the new Dutch addendum added to the course. That's in Module 13 there at the end. So if you want some training on that, Reed talked about that last week, I think, all the work that went into that, how excellent it is. So make sure to check that out if you're interested in learning there. And then also there are some new tests added to the Medical Director Program. So I know that page has had a couple of problems the last few days here. I think all the kinks are worked out. But always check that out. We're always updating those, adding new things. We usually let you know when things are there. Always trying to give you guys more options. Those are very much hand-selected tests. They're tried and true, proven. So anything that goes up on there has been carefully curated, and we've checked it out, and we know it's good lab. So want to give you good options there. So check it out. I think that was the main things I wanted to cover. And, of course, the FDN Rock Conference. So still on for October 23rd through 25th, praying that all this stuff is going to be over by then. So it's still on. Looking forward to that. You guys mark your calendars for it. Go ahead and make plans to go. Sunny San Diego, California again. And it's going to be our third one, and it's going to be amazing. So I'll just keep that out there so you guys remember that is there. Tremendous time to get together as a group, and it just, like I say this, I think every time I talk about this, it just takes you to another level, and maybe 2 levels or 3 levels, super quickly. It's hard to gather that much information, that much energy, and that much connection. You can go around, you can talk to every single one of the labs that we work with, and every single supplement company that you order from and you recommend for your clients. You can talk to every single one of them in one day. Where do you get that kind of access there? I don't know, even phone calls, it'd be hard to catch people. But they are there with booths set up, amazing speakers, and then, of course, all our friends, right? All our colleagues, practitioners together in one place. It's pretty amazing. So keep that in mind for October. Get your tickets and make plans. Come and join us October 23rd to the 25th that weekend. So it'll be great. Let's see. I think that's the big things I wanted to make sure we covered and got out of the way there, but all really super important stuff. So any questions you guys have, you can reach out to us, of course, on anything that's up there. Reach out to the labs. We'll get you answers and support you through this time. It's a great time to be a practitioner, regardless of what's going on. People still care about their health, and maybe even so you guys just keep doing what you're doing, maybe turning up a few degrees, a few notches, and we'll come through this thing, and it'll be better than ever. So that's our plan. That's what we're doing as far as personally, my business, my wife and I. We're just doing everything we've already planned to do and a little bit more because we have maybe a little bit more time to work on some of those things. So just take advantage of every opportunity. All right. Enough talk about that. Let's talk about some FDN stuff, some questions here. So, again, if you guys want to call in with a question, 347-637-1378 is that number. And I will say hello again to Tess and Brendan. Guys, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Brandon. How much fun to be on with you two boys. Great day.
You'll keep us in line here. So, did I miss any announcements or anything, you guys, that I've forgotten about that you want to make people aware of before we jump into questions?
Did you mention the new Dutch addendum in the course?
I did. So on Module 13,
yeah,
exactly. So I have not gotten all the way through it yet. So I have not. We'll say, but we're all pretty familiar with that lab at this point. We've used that one as a good option there because sometimes saliva testing can be a little challenging to get moved a long distance, and so we've been using that Dutch here and there for trainees, and it's good to have options, right? So and you get different information from different labs. Are excited about the connection with Access. We've got a few questions about that here today. I'll probably try to bring those up, but the new lab there to replace the BioHealth 205. It's a pretty awesome deal. I think we've made a good move working with that company. We're going to be gaining by doing that.
Yeah, I'm excited about that lab. I'm excited to hear what the questions are today and just kind of open up that conversation for that opportunity for our current trainees and graduates too. Indeed.
So maybe we'll start with that one, guys. We'll start there. Unless you guys want to make a personal comment or say hey or whatever. I mean, this is a pretty open show, so I'll give you guys another chance there before we jump into questions. So let's go with questions then. So, all right. So this is one about Access. Sorry, trying to direct traffic here a little bit. Sorry if I'm clunky today. All right. So now our first question here. The new lab that Reed talked about with Access, is this a test only available for graduates, or as trainees, do we also get this test and will be trained on it? So good question. I think this is a fairly recent question, too, on the trainee forum about this. So if you haven't not made aware, so BioHealth closed its doors a few weeks ago, and so, of course, we needed some lab to replace the BioHealth 205, the saliva test. We feel very confident about the history and the tried and true aspects and the information you gain from the saliva testing. Not that you can't get information from other labs, but saliva is what we rebuilt FDN upon, is that testing for that particular lab. So very quickly we went looking for a replacement, and we're happy to say there that Access Lab is going to be our replacement for that 205. We've called the lab test the FDN Stress and Hormones Panel, so keeping it very broad in the name of it there. But it's really the 205 much improved. This is the cool thing. So there'll be some additional markers than what was just on the 205. The cost is less, significantly less, and the turnaround time is much, much quicker. We're talking days on this, maybe even 2 to 3 day turnaround time. So as long as all that comes through, they're a pretty big lab. They run a lot of saliva testing, been around for quite a while. And so the benefit here is, sometimes more markers give you a little more insight. Maybe they don't change things dramatically, but a little additional insight. The markers are there. They're offering those. Might as well put them on there, right? So they're not charging us anything extra for those markers. And so those will be added there to that test. And we've had a few R&Rs, I think, at this point using that new lab for trainees. And also even we went through the lab in detail here this last week, and some of the markers and some of the units of measurement like that are going back to some of the ways that we liked before they did some revamping with the 205. So it seems to be almost everything we could wish for with one lab, and not saying that lightly. So thrilled with that. And also this company as well, been great about customer service, bending over backwards to accommodate, to update the reports the way that we want to see them. So really awesome thing. So you can go back and listen to some of the details on some of the Facebook Lives, but that's the short of it. So very much an improvement. And so because of that, as you know, we have to do a little revamping to the course. So Reed decided to go ahead and jump on the Dutch first because we had probably 20, 25 trainees there, that was the test that they ran for their own personal results and recommendation session. So we didn't want to delay a person to go into that awesome session that we love to do with them while going over their personal results. So the Dutch test was the one that we used for that. So there's good couple dozen there that we have to go through that way before Access was online and ready to use that. So now Access, the FDN Stress and Hormone Panel, saliva testing there, it's now the one that's going out for trainees in most cases. There are some cases where we would use the Dutch, but kind of rare now at this point. So that's going out there. So Reed wanted to go ahead and do the 101, have that training in there for those folks, and also just for knowledge for FDNs, their evening graduates, because as a graduate, you still have access to the course material. We don't take that away from you. We actually allow you access to updates to the course and additions. Those aren't any extra charges as part of you being an FDN practitioner in good standing. So really, Crash Course, I've pointed a lot of people that direction. If you want to know the Dutch test, just go right to that one in the course. That's probably going to be one of your best starts there. Begin there, add to that as you need to. All right, so where was I? All right, as far as training goes, so updates to the course. So Reed's hard at work on that. Things, I would say, I'm guessing, as far as you're saying, okay, new lab, oh no, this changes everything. Probably not, and I'm ready to say for sure not. As far as the understanding and the transition from the 205 to the new FDN Stress and Hormone Panel, probably very little difference other than ranges, right? So same markers, very close to the same, actually almost all of them are the same, but the ranges will be a little bit different. So it just takes your mind switching from, the range used to be 20 to 30 was the FDN optimum. Now it's 5 to 8. Okay, it's just a little bit of a numerical switch. The principles of interpretation, how we look at those, the bird's eye view, the overall person itself, themselves, the preparation for the protocols, everything more or less stays the same. So we just needed to get the information from a lab that could run that for us, and Access is the one to do that. So timing on training, what did they say? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the question here, they want to know if we're going to be trained on this. So, yeah, definitely. Those updates are coming into the course. Could take a little bit of time. We may have some addendums in there. We'll see what the most effective way to get the information out to everybody is going to be. But there will be a major course update there. And the practicals will change also, right? So we've got different labs there. That'll be updated there. Access-wise, you have access to that lab as a trainee and a graduate, so everybody has access. It's essentially just like the 205. You have the same type of access you had previously. You have it with this new FDN stress and hormone panel. So it's really just take this one out, put this one in, and then any of the ripple effect that we feel from that as far as references to the BioHealth 205 and the 101, we'll have to remove those, scrub those from the training. Okay. Hopefully that was exciting and not totally boring, but we are pumped about this. It's going to be an awesome thing. Hopefully I answered the question. Brendan, Tess, anything to add to that or comments on the updates?
None here.
I think that I know that Reed has addressed this, and we have addressed this multiple times in the Facebook group. But, not everyone catches every update or post, and there might still be some trainees or graduates out there that are feeling like a little overwhelmed with the fact that we are, like, maybe if you are a trainee and you're in the course and we're just getting in there and getting your feet wet, and then all of a sudden you hear there's going to be changes in the labs, and it can just really freak you out because you don't really feel confident yet in what you know. I would just encourage you, if that's you, or if you're a graduate, maybe even a new graduate or a graduate that has not taken any additional lab training and still using the 205, and you may be feeling a little overwhelmed and thinking, hey, I can't do this. I just wanted to encourage you to think about this more as a growth opportunity, because throughout your career as a functional health coach and in the health coaching space, needing to keep up with changes that are happening within the labs, but not only that, within research and science, because we've already experienced that many times in FDN as a whole, updating labs because research and science has moved forward. And even when you graduate and you start to perhaps venture out into additional advanced learning, you're going to need to open your mind up to new research and more science and more training. So this is just an opportunity for you to kind of embrace that right away and sort of let go of, we kind of get linear when we're learning. We want to just look at the facts and we want to learn that. But if we can step outside of that linear thinking and embrace that bigger picture and how this will help us, this is going to help you be a better practitioner, because to be a good FDN, you can't think linear anyway, right? To be that health detective that Reed talks about, you can't think linear because your clients aren't linear. Humans are not. So, just embrace that and try not to let it overwhelm you. And I think that you will really enjoy the opportunity to actually even take your abilities even further. So don't worry about it. We've got you. You're going to be even better at what you do and what you offer your clients.
Very well put. I agree. Go ahead, Brendan.
Oh, no, yeah, it's just saying well said. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't stop with the course, right? It doesn't just stop with the course. We've got it all. We know it all. We can do it all. No, it doesn't. Life doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yep. That's just a good practitioner, right? So if we said to you, hey, when DHEA is in this range, give and recommend this many drops of DHEA. But it's when in this range, give this many drops of DHEA. And when this ratio is this, do that. Yes, that's part of the learning process of some of those specifics, but also it's that stepping back and looking at the big picture itself. So, just because DHEA is at this level, I do this. Well, maybe, but if I'm looking at it with, a microscope, looking just at DHEA, but I look at everything else in this 205 and the person's history and the stress and hormone panel. I look at that. I look at the history, the rest of the labs I have. That may not be the call and the direction that I go. So if you're trying to do too much of that, looking for, I guess if you're in that mindset, if you're thinking, do do this, then do this, then do this, that linear thinking like Tess is talking about, a mind shift will have to happen eventually for you. And I think that may end up coming for you when you get into the practicals. As we start to teach and go through the actual going over results, getting into the rationale or reasoning behind it, why we would go this direction and that direction. So if it is the way you think already, a little more black and white, a little more linear, we'll break you of that. We'll get you thinking a little bit
yes,
differently there, in a good way. I don't mean to use that terminology, but in that way. So, good way to kind of reframe that. And the updates and changes there. It's going to be a good thing. And any change is difficult, right? How much change have we gone through in the last 3 weeks or month, right? Change is not fun. It doesn't matter who you are. I know my 14-year-old doesn't like change that much. I know a lot of kids don't like change. We don't like change sometimes as adults either. We get kind of set in our ways and we get on autopilot. But most of the time I've noticed in life, generally I would say, most of the time change brings something good and something better and something new or just what you sort of needed at that time in life. So if you don't like where you are or what is happening, something has to change. And sometimes that change isn't always so fun. I think that it ties that up pretty good there.
It's been Brandon, that sometimes when things get the hardest and you are pushing back the most against something because you feel like, it's not working or things are just like everything you touch just sort of falls apart. That's it's like the moment right before the big breakthrough that you have. So, even in your learning processes, sometimes when you're feeling the most frustrated or you're feeling the most overwhelmed or the most stuck, that's when your brain is actually trying to make that shift. So, if you just, again, step back, trust the process, but we can't see what's ahead of us, right? So we don't know that. So we get stuck in that moment. But that's where the mentor sessions, if you haven't gotten to your mentor sessions yet, are so valuable, because I have always said this, because this was the truth for myself. And I see this with all the trainees that I work with, is that this course is so much more than offering you a certificate and an education in functional health coaching. This is really, this is a total growth process, if you let it be that way. It really is, because it starts to, as you start to shift your way of thinking about your clients, you're also shifting your way of thinking about yourself and about how you kind of view things on a whole. And it's all good stuff.
Mm-hmm. True. We don't advertise that in our marketing, do we?
No, deep philosophical stuff here. We need Brendan on this one.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. But it's so true. I mean, to have growth in any area, it's more than just that, education in a box thing. It has to be on the whole mind, body, and thinking approach to your life, and growth in any area. So just, try not to,
that's one reason.
Even like you said, we're going through, I was just going to say, we're going through a lot of changes. You mentioned that, right now it's, there's a lot of uncertainty for people, and it's going to be very, very difficult for a lot of people to think like that. I would like to think that those of us who have really embraced this way of thinking about the whole mind-body connection, that we're going to have an easier time adjusting through this than maybe people who are more linear in thinking. So, some things that you can share with those you love to try to help them, kind of relax through this process. But, there's going to, there's always a light at the end of the rainbow, right? At the end of the tunnel, there's always a rainbow. Let's be really philosophical here. But honestly, we get caught up in our very moment, and we aren't, because we can't see what's ahead. And that's the same with learning as well. So we just have to keep, working through those things and try not to let them get you down too much.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we really celebrate graduates, each week. I actually don't have a graduate this week, but I know we'll have 3 or 4 next week. I'm about to see them on my calendar. So that's why we celebrate those so much. All right, cool. We'll keep them coming.
Yes.
So that's why we celebrate it every week, and we're excited. I'm genuinely excited. I know the fake applause is kind of hokey, but I think it adds a little something to it. So we do it, but it is sincere, and so we know it's more than just you learned how to interpret 5 different labs. and you knew how to wield those supplements pretty good. All this personal growth that does occur during this process, that's also what we're celebrating with that, and who you've become, how you've grown, because most people don't course in 2 weeks. It takes months, and so all the growth that happens through that process, so we celebrate that. And that's why there is many times some really positive emotion at that verbal final, and getting to say, hey, you did it, congratulations. All that's kind of built up in that. So it's a cool thing. Very cool.
That's why we love what we do, right? Because we are we get to see that. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Brendan, you're out there in a little bit more out there in the public eye. What kind of feedback do you see, or are you getting feedback on our graduates and what they're doing and in their roles in their businesses? Do you hear from people about FDN as in general?
Yeah, kind of depends where I'm at. Like some of the, let's see. There obviously every conference kind of has, a different demographic. Some of it is very like medical doctor heavy, and they're looking to get some CMEs, to maintain their license. And like A4M is a good example. And like A4M, that crowd is pretty conventional, kind of dipping their toes in functional. And then something like the AANP, which is all naturopaths. But I will say, like, FDNs are definitely getting out there more and more, kind of slowly but surely. I find myself running into FDNs, I would say at like 50% or more of the conferences I'm going to. Generally, the people... Yeah, and the people that I interact with, like, because, on a lot of times, like, if I'm speaking at the event and, they list FDNP behind my name, and then I will have people come up to me and ask, like, hey, what is FDNP or whatever. But the people that have heard of it have only heard good things, and otherwise they just haven't heard of it. But it's been really cool to see that the professionals that have heard of FDN, they're like, oh yeah, like, I hear really good things about that, and da-da-da-da-da. So I really think we're kind of getting there, and we're, starting to kind of make a bigger impact as a community on really just kind of the alternative medicine industry in whole. So that's really exciting to see. Or in New York City in February, Sharon Gelfin was there, and there were at least like one or two more FDNs that I either ran into or heard that they were floating around. So it's really exciting to see that.
Wow. Yeah, that is really good news. I find I get excited when one of my trainees will say, oh, I was listening to this particular functional medicine doctor or this particular person, and or I saw that they have this training or whatever. And I'll say, oh, that's awesome, because that guy, that doctor, that woman, they're a friend of FDN. I feel like we need like an organization called Friends of FDN. That would be like all those, like Dr. Tom O'Brien, that would be really cool. So
absolutely.
Anyway, I love knowing though that we are gaining traction in that way. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep. Cool. All right. Hey, we got our first caller. So let's, I'm going to grab that call right now. I've got 215 area code. What's your name there, 215?
Hey, guys, it's Evan Transu again, 2 weeks in a row now.
All
right. You're on a roll. What's going on, Evan?
I'm loving it because, I haven't been able to tune into these live for about 2 years almost. So it's just really fun. It's a little different when you're with you guys live and you're in the conversation. I'm loving everything that you guys were saying today. I do have a question, but, Tess, I love what you said about just the different stuff and how it's like kind of your responsibility to keep learning. And I was talking about that with a friend recently. If you're doing this type of work and you just have to be ready for the change, like that's the commitment and duty that you decided to do when you decided to come into the functional world, because otherwise, if we don't, how are we any better than the people that unfortunately unintentionally failed us. Because the doctors, and I'm speaking for me now, not FDN, but the doctors that failed me, they are not bad people. I don't believe that for 1 second. I certainly don't believe that they're stupid people. What happened? They started thinking linearly, one-size-fits-all type of thing. I give this medication for this disease or whatever, and they stopped learning. So when I told them, hey, I'm doing this natural stuff and it's working, they're looking at me like I have two heads, even though they could understand this stuff 10 times better than I could because they have the background and probably the extra intelligence to figure that out. So I love that point, and I think it's our responsibility. Like, that's the main thing that separates us is an open mind, not a one-size-fits-all thing, and the commitment to say, you know what, I'm going to learn for the rest of my life to best serve the people out there. So that's awesome. Now, my question, which is totally not related to any of this, is I just started working with someone as of last night, and I'm doing a variation of the basic labs now. I'm doing the Access one, GI map, and I ended up wanting to do, I'm familiar with thyroid because of some of the stuff in the FDN course, but also because of issues that my mom's had in the past. So I definitely wanted to at least rule that out. So we're doing some stuff with DHA Labs, which I got to shout them out too. They were awesome to work with, really easy process setting up, and they even got on the phone with me for free. Like, they do that for everyone apparently, just to talk to you and set that up. So that was cool. But this is a mental health client, and I was just looking. I'm like, you know what? I haven't really had anyone come to me where that was the main complaint. It's always been a secondary thing, and I'm very passionate about mental health. That's the space that I'm in. I was just wondering, I'm like, do we do anything with neurotransmitters? And then I looked through the MDP and I saw the neurogistics test. Now, I searched in the Facebook group FDN support to see what people's opinions on it were. I heard like a dead 50-50. Some were saying it was awesome. Some were saying, didn't really help that much, not so great. I was wondering what your guys' perspectives on that was. Like, when do you use something like that, if you do it all? And also, do you use it, like, is it going to be greatly affected if someone is currently on an SSRI or SNRI? Because the client I have is currently on an SNRI.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good question. Good question there. I've got some experience with that lab, but I'll defer to one of you guys first.
I think I'm going to let you guys answer that question, and then I'd like to speak to Evan about his comment. How about that?
Gotcha. Brenda, you probably can chime in on the oats side of things.
Yeah, I'd like to hear Brendan's idea on the oats.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because, I mean, if I had to pick like one particular demographic or one subject that I'm most passionate about, it would be mental health and neurochemistry and, all the different things that will just totally dysregulate that. As far as like neurotransmitter testing, there really isn't any strong validation behind urinary testing for neurotransmitters. We don't have a good way of testing what's going on in the brain. So urinary neurotransmitter or urinary organic acid testing really kind of is the best we can do to try to objectively, seek some understanding about what's going on biochemically that might relate to what's going on across the blood-brain barrier. There definitely, however, I think a little bit of just like logic or common sense, like there's got to be some kind of correlation and connection there, because certainly like when, for example, you have somebody on an SSRI or something like levodopa for Parkinson's, you will see, higher levels of excretion of, serotonin metabolites or catecholamine metabolites, so on and so forth. So, but then, of course, part of it kind of begs to question, like, well, what are we using the testing for? Like, are we using it because we need that data more from, like, the quote-unquote, like, clinical lens? Or is it more just like a compliance tool to provide them some objective insight and have them take it seriously? So I don't really personally use the neurogistics or any urinary neurotransmitter testing. Obviously, I do use a lot of organic acids. I don't have anything against it, but again, I don't want to say urinary neurotransmitter testing is like worthless, but the data isn't strong enough to suggest like it's definitive in assessing neurochemical imbalances. So it really comes down to how do we correlate with their symptoms correlate with the big picture, and what steps do we take to improve it? So I'm not at all against it, but the problem is when people, run that panel and it's like, oh, serotonin's low, so let's immediately give you 5-HTP. And it's like, well, just like any lab, the lab doesn't really mean anything by itself. It's when we correlate, but that's just kind of my initial 2 cents, but it can be valuable at times for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good way to balance it there. As far as Neurologistics goes, Pam Helmley there has been a friend of FDN since the very beginning. I think her and Reed go way back, and definitely she's been on lots of interviews with us, and of course she spoke at the conference last year, right? So awesome lab there. My experience with that, I don't use it super often. The times when I would use the Neurologistics panel there, and by the way, great lab, great people, great support, another really awesome partnership we have there with them. I would use it in the case most of the time if a person has, usually with children, that have a whole lot of their main issues are maybe hyperactivity, ADHD, focus issues, things like that, a lot of behavioral issues that really are creating a lot of stress for the child, but also for the family. In a situation like that, I might use that test as an initial screen or part of my initial testing with that child. For adults, I might use that in some cases. Mostly I would use it maybe if we're going maybe 3 months into the protocol and things aren't shifting and aren't moving in that area. I might want to do some specific support for neurotransmitters. But back to what Brendan was saying, and this is what Neurologistics would say also, doing a neurotransmitter panel and recommending certain amino acids, for example, to help support potentially those brain chemicals is not fixing anything. It is symptom adjustment. It's not addressing root cause really at all. Now, putting this like with the hormone drops that help sort of support some of those pathways, you can kind of reset some things, but if that's all you do and then you pull those supplements out 3 months later, it's going to be almost like jerking the rug out from underneath them. So Neurologistics would say also, you see in the report, they're going to say, here's some dietary changes we'd recommend, here's some additional supplementation, here's some other places you should look to help support this person. So I use it more as targeted symptom relief in certain situations is the way I would put that. It's kind of like looking at a Dutch panel and getting the mini oat panel there in the back of that and seeing the neurotransmitters. I can usually clinically correlate that back to the other labs. I rarely recommend anything specifically to support neurotransmitters, even on that lab right there. So targeted symptom relief is the way to go with that one. Neurologistics is great about putting together a good protocol for you, and then they recommend usually retesting at about 8 weeks and seeing where things have shifted to and make adjustments from there. So I think it has its place. It's just, for me, it's one out of every 50 people, maybe out of 100 people. I personally am going to run that lab. So good stuff. Good to have the information. It can really help in some cases. As far as efficacy and it working well for people, I would say for me, 80% of people, I would say, that neurotransmitter protocol was really supportive and helped them sort of on the symptom relief side, because I would work it usually early on in the protocol. So I know it's really the only thing we're changing besides maybe some diet things. So this is before really going into some deep hormonal work or detox work or gut work. So I know it does have an effect on that, but it is pretty complex. That's why I rely on Neurologistics to help me out with the adjustments of those supplements, because it is a really complex thing that, like Brendan's talking about there, getting down into that and trying to monkey with those numbers and go based on the numbers only, we know that's just a futile thing. It's like trying to get hormones to be regulated using hormone drops or bioidentical hormone therapy, right? It's just most people aren't going to have awesome results, and you aren't actually producing any health or improving health through that process either. So principle-wise, fundamentally, it kind of goes against what we do. So that's why it's used at certain times. So hopefully that was clear. I don't know, Tess, take over.
Yeah, I would add that having spoken to Pam Helmsley personally, just in conversation, like at conference and stuff, she'll flat out tell you that they don't want to see you run one of their labs until you've done the foundational work anyway, because they understand that that's the precursors to everything that they're doing, right? It's getting all the foundations that we do as FDNs in place. So I would really encourage you to start there. Start with how you learned. Start with the foundational work and the dress, and then move forward and adjust, course correct as you need to. We also, labs are available to us, and they're great tools, but we can overuse them in the sense that we're looking for answers in the labs that are often found in, again, just doing the foundational work. And we want to use our clients' money strategically as well, because, lots of them are burned out from going to functional medicine doctors, and not, again, picking on them so much, but they're thinking more diagnostic. They're thinking like doctors, and they're running all the labs and spending all the money. And we can get some basic information and work on the foundation and work our way forward as we need to, and sometimes find out we don't even need those additional things. So it would be a targeted approach that you'd have to decide upon. But Evan, I wanted to thank you for your comment about the mindset shift and about how we need to be open to learning more, and that it's our responsibility. I want to thank you for that, because it is so very true. But I also want to address, you mentioned about your doctor who you felt had failed you, and about the medical community itself. And I would say that I think we have to put everything in perspective of, I believe that most people who go to medical school, who are doctors, their heart's in the right place. They go there because they do want to change people's lives, their health. They want to help people heal. But I think that I think that our medical education is antiquated, that it's kind of stuck in the rhetoric of old politics and old structure. And I think it's like every time in history that we've seen our medical, if we could go all the way back a couple of centuries and think about how medicine has changed. At one point in time, so I'm an herbalist as well, and I can tell you in the history of herbalism, one point in time, it was all women who administered medical care through herbalism, and that later politically changed and became only men allowed. And if women practiced that, basically they were considered to be kind of evil, and it wasn't allowed. So, and then we had the eclectics that tried a bunch of different things, and some of it worked and some of it was horrible, but they tried stuff. And that kind of brought us forward in medicine. And of course, we could have this whole history lesson. Maybe we're just at that tipping point in modern day history where we just need to bring medical education a little bit more forward thinking. And, it's kind of like using herbs versus pharmaceuticals. We use pharmaceuticals because they can have what they consider to be very solid trials where they can rule out the variables. And we know with herbs we can't do that, because depending on what soil they're grown in, what climate they're grown in, what time of day they're picked, it can be a totally different chemical constitution. So maybe what we do as functional health coaches in this functional realm is kind of like that. There's so many variables that it's harder to regulate that in a medicine kind of standpoint. So even though, sometimes we'll have bad experiences in that medical, it doesn't mean that it's still a bad thing. And that's where I think we come in, and our real role should be helping bring awareness to how we can support that and enhance that and create this better customer journey, or enhanced customer journey for everyone, for every client, no matter what route they take. That's kind of how I kind of feel like we have that kind of mandate to do that too. So I don't know. I really appreciate your passion on that. And I just felt like I wanted to talk about it a little bit, because I don't think it's about one is bad or one is better. I think it's more about our perspective and where we're willing to go with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was really well said. And thank you guys for such an in-depth. It's nice having, it's cool when you have one. When you have three and you get three different perspectives on things, that's always nice. And that's exactly what I was thinking that you guys were going to say with the neurogistics thing, because I don't hear it mentioned that often. So I'm like, all right, it must be an every now and then, if at all. And yeah, I definitely didn't want this as a primary lab. But yeah, my hope was, I'm like, if this science is better than I know, because I know one of the issues that we have with SSRIs and stuff like that is we don't necessarily fully, these reuptake processes and things like that. I was hoping at best that this could be an intelligent allopathy type thing. So that was my hope. And it seems like maybe, like you said, in that 1 in 50, 1 out of 100 case, it could be down the road. But okay, cool. That's good to know. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Well put.
Thank you.
Yeah. 2 more things I want to add to this. Just a couple things I thought about while we were saying here. So they do factor in whatever medication the person's on. So that's on the intake form as far as the neurologistics panel goes. Like NeuroFocus is the main one that has the 7 neurotransmitters: serotonin, dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, GABA, glutamate, and histamine are the 7 on that. So they will factor in whatever medication that person's on as much as you can. So they'll give you that information also. And back to one other thing Brendan said also, which was good, was like a compliance thing, or just, I don't know if you guys have experienced this. So the process of going through results with somebody, part of what's going to happen there is there's going to be a realization that there is a physical reason why they feel the way they do, and they're getting some answers. And so if a neurotransmitter test has that, because I'll speak for myself, and I know Brendan has some history there as well. So when I first went on Zoloft and SSRI to deal with the anxiety, depression I was dealing with, it was a hard thing to do. I even said to myself, my goodness, I'm going crazy here. What's wrong with me? It was a lot of negative emotion tied up with the already negative emotion that I had previously. So to bring in a lab that shows, hey, your brain chemistry is off, and we know some reasons why this would be off, and we have a hope to be able to address the underlying causes to bring this into balance, that alone, I think that test is $239. I would have paid $239 for somebody to say, hey, look, there's reasons why you feel the way that you do. You're not insane. You're not going crazy. There's nothing wrong with your character. There's nothing, all the negative things that we associate with times with mental health challenges. It's nothing wrong with you as a person. This isn't a self-worth thing. There's actual physical reasons why this is happening. And look, here it is on paper. So if that would be worth a lot of money to me at the time, 15, 20 years ago, when I was dealing more with that more acutely. So you might find that lab working, even if you don't even take the advice of the supplementation recommendations. Just having that on paper, along with the other labs, might really help that person on a level that you didn't even expect.
Yes, that's good, Brendan. That's also, Brendan, a place where, Evan, you have the opportunity to really shine as an FDN, because that's when you can take the data and you can correlate that for your client, and then you can also educate them on possibilities of, the rest of the dysfunctions in their system that could have led to this, in that lifestyle approach. So it gives you some other avenues and ways to address it.
Yep. Good question. Well, that's a lot. Evan, thanks for calling in, man. So, all right, we've got 12 minutes left. This is great. Time flies when you're having fun. So, guys, now's your time to ask a question. We could probably get a couple more in before the call is over. And again, you get 3 for 1 here today with all 3 of us on. So that number 347-637-1378. And boy, I'm looking through the switchboard here. Man, what an audience! A ton of you guys on today. Thanks for spending your time with us here. So if you have a question or even just want to say hi, hit 1 on that keypad, and I'll bring you on. Otherwise, I'll jump onto a question here. So, there's one. All right. 810-810 area code. Hello, 810. What's your name?
Hello, everyone. This is Rainey from Michigan. I'm just
Hello,
so happy.
Rainey.
Yes, saying hi to everyone. I cannot pass this opportunity to say hi also to Tess. And
Hi, Rainey.
Hi, Tess. I hope you remember me. And
I do. Yes.
Yes, I have to tell you, you and Brendan and Brandon, all of 3 of you have such an incredible influence on what we can do as FDNs. And when I heard your voice too, I cannot stop smiling. I thought, oh wow, Tess is there.
So
and I couldn't agree more with what also the previous caller said, and what you mentioned earlier about the studying starting actually once we finish. Now, I just finished like 2 months ago. I'm trying to restructure the business. We're making progress, each one of us. And I just want to thank you for all the big points that you were sharing with me during the practical 2 as well. And, of course, Brandon for the final and getting all this wisdom from 3 of you. Of course, Brandon was today on a detective hour. I just felt to encourage everyone to step out of the comfort zone, and that's what I'm trying to do. And at certain point, we're going to influence more people with our wisdom about health, educating them, and basically we have to take every step to put ourselves out there so people will know that we are there and we have something to offer and to help them. So I just want to thank 3 of you for a great and awesome job, and so good to hear from you. And that's basically why I called. So I don't have a specific question. Just want to say hi and blessings to everyone. And another thing I just wanted to mention real quick, what helped me once I graduated, I followed Brandon's advice, and I did sign for the AFDNP membership, and it's a wealth of information. So especially now, as everyone is hunkered down and we have to outweigh all of this, it's a great opportunity to learn and just to be part of many of these different lectures and developments as we can tune into. So that's really great. But I just want to encourage everyone, my FDN fellow, trainees, and also, of course, the graduates, and wish you all great success. And again, thank you guys for a great job. Be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rennie. I don't know about you guys, but my heart is just full right now. I'm just like, of course, I'm sure you guys aren't tearing up, but I am. And I just want to thank you, Rennie. That was so sweet. And I'm speaking for myself, it was a pleasure to work with you. And I'm so honored to hear how you are utilizing your FDN and the work that you're putting into it. But even more so, I myself are reached and inspired by your words, because this is a time right now when many of us are going to feel like we don't have a place or a role, and that we ought to just hunker down with everyone else and not be visible. And I think your words were perfect and timely. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Wow. All right, one more. I think maybe we got time for one more today. So I've got 518 area code there. All right, 518. What's your name?
Yes, hi guys. Let me lower my
who's this?
computer. Yes, Chip Miles here, trainee. How are you guys?
Oh, hey, Chip.
Hello.
We're doing well.
Hi guys.
How about you?
Good. You guys are encouraging, always are. My question, or not really a question, maybe you can kind of fill in from the gentleman that was on and talking about neurotransmissions and, brain function. Would dental amalgams play a role in any of that? I know we can get, a heavy metals test and find out the levels, but I know some people react differently to the amalgams and this idea of leaky brain. And so what is your knowledge of that? And maybe it's within the course and I haven't gotten there yet, but just in my own research from my own mouth, those things have come up for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, Chip, I'd say we sort of touch on it like a cursory. It's in the list of potential blocking factors, but getting deep into that in the course, I don't think we get super deep into it. Sort of on that list of, okay, here's some potential issues and blocking factors that can cause problems for people. So the far-reaching effects of, I think, just dental health, not even metal in the mouth and absorbing of metals and all of that, just dental health is a hugely overlooked and underutilized aspect of what we can do, because the dental health is a huge aspect of overall body health. It's an indication of other things going on in the body, but also a lot of infection, for example, can be in the mouth. That's a burden of infection just like it is in the gut, right? So addressing oral health in whatever way you decide to do that, that's a huge blocking factor. It's a huge stressor. So it's something to think about. So just that alone, regardless of the metal burden and all the effects that heavy metals can have on the body, it's a big thing. So I'd say that it's usually something we ask on questionnaires. You know, I ask, do you need any further dental work? Have you had dental work done? I ask about what kind of fillings or crowns and things like that. I want to know about the health of the mouth to know that potentially could be a huge blocking factor. It really could be. It's not always something that I personally tell a person to go out and do the first week, like go have your amalgam fillings removed by a professional who knows how to do that. But it probably is going to be on the list there eventually to do, because it's a process, and it's not, you know, a $100 fix. It's going to be something there. So I'd say probably more of next level things would be more on the dental amalgam side of things. You have to have some of those foundations set, but you always have to have a place to start from. So I'll end with this, but you always have to have a place to start from, right? We could try to do 20 different things with the person, but you have to find some place to start. So going back to the foundations, start with the foundations of FDN, and usually most of the time something like that's going to be a next level. Now there's times when major infections like that influences the body in a major way, and you still just can't get any headway because that blocking factor is present. I might look at that also like breast implants, right? So a lot more information about that and groups. We got a lot of FDNs kind of in that field. I have a personal client that just had explant surgery 3 weeks ago, and it has totally changed her life. We were getting had very little headway with the protocols until we removed the implants, had explant surgery, and now she's making strides, just leaps and bounds day over day. So sometimes those big factors like that can hold you back from making any progress at all. Is that super common? I don't know that necessarily that it is, at least in the population I would work with.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, it certainly is stressors for sure. And I guess, like you say, they fill out those sheets, and you look down the protocols down the road 3-6 months later, if you're not gaining as much traction as you should, to look at that questionnaire again and say, maybe this, maybe that, and have them look into those areas. All right, Brendan, thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, anything to add to that?
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, it definitely can be another source of stress, and it's something to consider as kind of the part of the big picture. But yeah, certainly something to, we always want to be educating our clients on all the different things that might be contributing to that total stress burden. But yeah, I thought that was a great answer.
Yeah, agreed.
Lots we can do, but you can't do it all in the first week or the first 2 weeks. It's just, and maybe you wouldn't want to either, right? So even the most careful dentist there that knows how to remove those properly, there's probably still going to be some mercury that gets into your system at a higher level than what your body's used to. So I want that vitality up, those detox pathways opened up. I want to be able to process that mercury out of the body without having too much detrimental effect. So it's not something you just want to jerk out and be done with the first week. You want to have some of that foundation laid. So always comes back to that. So all right, cool. So
that's an excellent point. Yeah.
And then you can look at HTMA or. Yeah, right. Some people do want to. Yeah. They want to do everything but you've got to kind of pull the reins back a little bit. I've a lot of clients that don't want to sequence and titrate. I'm like, okay, sequence and titrate your supplement. That's going to be the best thing for you. Sometimes they get away with it, but oftentimes they don't. We have to back up there a little bit. But yeah, on the metal side, you can do HTMA, look at what's going on there. There's provocation tests you can do, also the mercury tri-test, so you can get deeper into that as you want to. So those are available for you guys. Okay, all right. Well, we're getting the little announcement that we have like a minute left. So wrapping up the call here today with you guys. Boy, it's been awesome. This has been 2 definite Friday calls in a row that have built me up for sure, and I feel better at this point than I did when I started the call. I felt pretty good, but even another good level. So, guys, I want to say thank you for calling in. Good questions there, and the nice words and content and comments there. Good questions, guys. Thanks again for being on with us, and Brendan and Tess for your insight and just you guys being on the line. I just love hanging with you guys. So appreciate everything you're bringing to the calls.
Yeah,
thank you. It was
absolute
awesome.
pleasure. Yeah, this was good.
And all of you guys calling in, you're the ones that make the show. So thank you for participating. We really appreciate you.
Indeed. All right. Well, guys, have an awesome weekend, everyone. We love you, and thanks for being part of our lives. Have a good weekend, guys. Talk to you soon.